Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. Today I want to answer a question from a viewer that asked me, could you say something a little bit more about initiating? As a generator, does that mean that I can never initiate? Well, yeah, you can initiate. Generators are initiating all the time. I mean, their lives suck as a result of it, but yeah, you can. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So we've been taught to initiate. We've been taught to compete. We've been taught to compare. Yeah, and in initiating, everyone wants to manifest. Let's manifest. Every single channel moving from the root up towards the throat. It moves towards the throat. Every channel above the throat's trying to get to the throat. It's all trying to get to manifestation. But that doesn't mean that generators are here to correctly manifest. The manifestation that they try to do comes from the mind. It comes from, I want this, or I'm going to do this, rather than something that comes from a response towards something. So if there is a response, let's just take a simple example without confusing it with solar plex authority and will authority. Just take the example of a sacral generator, a purely sacral generator. Their correct response, when the energy rises to something, it's ready to do it. It's available to do that. And if you know the gates in your sacral, you know what you are available for. You're not available for everything. Please understand, this is a number one thing to bear in mind about generators. Their availability is already pointed to in the sacral. So if you've got the ninth gate, you've got the energy to be able to focus on the small details. And if you haven't got it, you haven't got that power. So you may want to focus on the details and you go, I must focus on the details, and you jump into that, but you're not going to last very long. Not unless there's the ninth gate around you in the transit. It's not easy for you to focus on the details if you don't have that. It doesn't mean that you can't, but you have to push yourself to do it. And yes, in these days, there are things have got so much more technical. There are many things that we have to focus on that we don't particularly want to, and yet we have to. So, yeah, we are pulled out of our natural state by the demands of society and the highly technical advances that have been made. And some people will cope with it better than others. So availability is already stated in your chart. Now, if you're going to manifest something from a power you don't have, you're not going to have a good time with it. It's not going to be comfortable. You're probably not going to do it very well. If you've got the 52nd gate in the root, perhaps you're going to over focus and do too much. So let's look at initiation and generators in two completely different ways. The first way is you're initiating from something that you've got to do and you can't get around it, and you initiate, you get it going, you get involved in it, you get involved with the resistance that's involved in pushing against your own nature. And one way or another, you get it done and you recover from that. Well, let's take it another, and let's do it another way. Let's say there's lots of things that you have to do and you want to be correct. So how do you do that? You make lists. You list 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do the other. And you wait. You're here to wait for your response. So in waiting for the response, you look at the list and you see, out of the 4 things you've listed, what do you respond to doing in the moment? And if the answer is none of them, then don't do any of them. Wait. There will be a process going on. Things change, transits change. There are other things you get involved with. Come back, look at the list. out of those things that you have to do and the time is running shorter, which ones do you respond to doing? I'll do that. Okay, you got energy for that now. You're coming from the response in the moment to what it is that out of the list of things you've got to do that you can do now. So that's you getting the job done without you initiating from the mind or initiating from the outside. It's you responding to the list that you've made that gives you that opportunity to respond to what has to be done because it has to be done. That's going to feel much better. The other side of this, let's say you have a spleen connected in your design. And even if you don't, I mean, it's difficult for me to know because I do. But if, let's say if you don't, let's see if this is true for you too. You let me know. Let me know in the comments below. If we're going to initiate something and we're not waiting for a response, there is usually a sinking in the heart. There's usually a push through something or into something when you're doing it. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. There is something off. You know, it might be the thing that you want to do and is correct for you to do, but not at this time. It's all about the timing. It's about, is the energy available at this moment or not? And if you're pushing to force something to happen, it's not going to feel right. And the chances are the outcome isn't going to be right for you either. It's about you and your life force and your energy. Now, let's say there's something, there's an emergency going on, and suddenly someone rushes into the room and says, "Come on, everyone, we've got to help. There's a fire on in room 2." You know, then it's not a matter of I should do this. I'm going to initiate getting the fire extinguisher. You will already be responding because of the action and because of the movement that's around you. Or you won't. Either you will or you won't. You might respond to running in the opposite direction. Depends what your design is. But the point is, yeah, you know, when there's in that situation where there is something of an emergency going on, you will naturally, the energy will naturally rise to doing something. Generators are doing creatures. We're here to do it. We're here to get it done. But we've got to get what needs to get done in accordance with our own nature, with accordance of our own timing. If you've got a solar plex attached to your sacral, you're going to need time to feel into it. You just are. And if you have to move in an emergency situation, you're going to be nervous at the same time. It's going to rise the nervousness. You're having to go against your normal nature would be to take things at a slower pace. But you can move to that. If you respond to that in the moment, you know, there will be this process going on as you go into action. It's not like you suddenly lose the solar plex. It will still be there. But it's not about you initiating from nothing. It's got to be something that you can respond to. This is the key. So when you say, can we ever initiate? Yes, you can, and it's usually a disaster. And should you? Well, no. Your design is to wait for the sacral response. And if you can trust that, and if you can live your life in a way that enables you to do that, you know, if you've got an open route and you've stacked up one appointment after another, and so many things you have to do in such a short space of time, then you're already sabotaging yourself. So, you know, you have to make changes to the way you live your life when you come into human design. And as you do, it's going to feel better. It's going to be easier. It's not going to be the painful journey that you've been on thus far. Things change, and they change if you're correct. Okay, well, I hope that's been helpful. I know it's not news to a lot of you, but it's good to go into these things every now and again, and just to really be clear. So please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I will be back again very soon with something completely different. Bye-bye for now.